great Wednesday morning it is. We welcome you to this edition of Tea in European Union. I'm your host. My name is Dennis Ilukena. And of course, the one that I'm having tea with this morning is none other than Mr. Mtendere Mphatso. And he is a Chief Technical Advisor under the Food and Agriculture Organization. And he's currently coordinating the Sustainable Intensification of Smallholder Farming Systems, SIFAZ project in Zambia. Lovely, good morning, and let's have tea.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Great, much better. Right, and we did, mention much earlier that you are, currently coordinating the sustainable intensification of smallholder farming systems as far as project in Zambia, and you are an agricultural economist by profession and has held various positions under, FAO, and the European Union also works closely with you in this, particular project. Now, the question that I'm posing to you is maybe for starters, we can get to learn more about, SIFAZ.
Okay, thank you very much. So SIFAZ is one of the projects that are funded under the larger EU funding on the commercialization of smallholder farmers system in Zambia. Mm-hmm. Now, the SIFAZ is implemented by 3 key partners. Obviously, the EU, one of them.
Yes.
And then Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. There's the CIMIT, which is the Center for International Center for Maize and Wheat Research, and the Ministry of Agriculture. Now, to put it into context, we start off from what is the government agenda or what is the government plan. In Zambia, we have got the National Agricultural Policy, which talks about how to diversify and how to make to make the agriculture sector more competitive.
Yes.
And from the FAO perspective, we have got our policy or our objectives on 4 betters, what we call the 4 betters. How do you better produce, better nutrition, better environment, and better life? And from the EU itself, how we promote or how we work on the environment, make sure that everything that we do is sustainable. Yeah. So, focusing on the government agenda, all the stakeholders as cooperating partners, the European Union, FAO, CIMIT, we come together to support the government agenda in the commercialization of smallholder farmers. So that's what the project is about.
Great. Now, let's zero into what type of activities, the project is implementing, and where do you operate?
Okay. Now, again, to put it into context, if you have interacted with any of the smallholder farmers, or if you go to the village now and meet any of the farmers, what do they say about their agriculture activities? Or what challenges do they pose? First, you will hear common sentiments like, our land is no longer as fertile as it were. We are not producing the same way we used it to produce. 2, they would be talking about, for example, nowadays we are receiving rains late, or maybe the rains is not reliable as it used to be in the day, some days or some years ago.
Yeah.
They'll tell you we have got challenges with, for example, how do we manage labor, or how do we make sure that we have got the weeds that affect our crop production, how do we manage them? And at times you will hear also problems to say, we produced, but we had nothing to do with this produce. Where could we sell it? So basically, the project, the SIFAZ, is looking at how do we address those challenges. But as we address those challenges by farmers, how do we make it that it's sustainable? There's an important factor that you need to bear in mind. If you look at the population in this country, it keeps increasing.
Yes.
But the land on which we have to produce to feed that population, it remains the same. So we needed to create a balance that how do we produce more from the same limited land we have, and also ensuring that we are not damaging the environment, for example, and all the activities that we are doing. And when we talk of environment, the forests are not being damaged because they are critical to the sustainability and the rainfall. The water is not being contaminated. So how do we strike this balance of producing better at the same time from the limited land that we have? So basically, that's the center of the activities that the project does. We are operating in 5 provinces of the country: Northern Province, Copper Belt, Southern Province, Eastern Province. And we are in 27 districts, working with the Ministry of Agriculture on the ground, and at private sector, both in the districts as well as at the national level.
Right. You did touch on issues to do with the environment, and I'm made to believe that SIFAZ is mainly based on issues again to do with climate smart agriculture, crop production. What does this really mean? How can you explain it to a layman like me?
Right, okay, that's an interesting question, and it's a very critical one, because sometimes when we talk of climate change, what exactly does it mean, and how does it affect us?
Yes.
And how does it affect smallholder farmers out there? Now, before I get into the climate change itself, let's look at what do farmers do right now, and what are the challenges with it.
Yes.
Okay. First and foremost, you have seen, for example, this year is a very good example on how the rains have performed. We are constantly receiving rains either late, or start off late, or it cuts off earlier than what it should, than what we are used to.
Exactly.
Okay. Already, by that's a big impact on the production, because we rely on rains to produce. Now, what are the causes? So when we talk of the environment, we are looking at these are some of the key elements that we are witnessing, that you can see right now. There is another dimension which we may not see with our eyes, is how much we release carbon into the atmosphere, and how that impacts the rainfall and the air, the quality of the air, and how much chemicals, for example, do they go in water to contaminate the environment. So what we are trying to say is, coming back to the same issue I said, how do we balance producing and feeding the increasing population? You are seeing an increase in cutting down of trees, because we wanted to expand the land on which we can produce. So basically, with that's the way we are affecting environment as a population or in the agriculture sector. Now the question is, do we have any technologies that we could bring in and make sure that as we produce, we do not damage the environment? And that's basically what this project is about. So now, I was just mentioning to you that what do farmers do now? You'll find that, for example, in the Northern Province or Copper Belt, there's a system called Mtendere, whereby they will cut trees, open up land, cultivate a couple of years, leave it, because the soil fertility has gone down, and go and open a new piece of land. Meaning, you continuously cut trees. And these are natural trees that have taken a number of years to grow. Okay? You find that some of the practices that we do, they are damaging, for example, to the water quality or to the water in the areas where we operate. So the point is, we are looking at technologies that will address the challenges the farmers are having, while at the same time improve what our impact, or reduce the impact on the environment, so that the future generations are there. So I'll give you specific examples. If you look at the key commodity we produce, like maize, it's recommended that we have at least 44,000 plants, for example, in a hectare. If you look at how we do now, we are constantly opening up the soil, or creating ridges and what have you. That action of constantly digging the ridges and what have you, first of all, it doesn't give us the recommended rates of the plants that we need. Already we are starting to produce at a very low rate. Okay. Second, the constant opening of the soil is exposing the soil to surface runoff, to erosion, and the damage to the nutrients, or the capacity which crops can grow on the soil. So we are looking at alternatives to such kind of farming practices. What, for example, where we promote minimum tillage, meaning that you only have to open up the soil in the areas where you are going to plant the crop. And ensure that for you to keep improving the soil health, to avoid this problem of our soils have gone bad or nthaka yaguga, to avoid those type of challenges, we need to, what should you include in that farming system to ensure that the soil health keeps being maintained. So those are the technologies that the project is working on and promoting amongst the smallholder farmers.
Great. I do understand that these projects have a lifespan. Now, for sustainability or continuity of agricultural activities showing positive outcomes, what are the project aspirations? Bearing in mind that the project will come to an end. Is it 2024?
Yeah. You are absolutely right. However, for sustainability, number one, we are working with the smallholder farmers that are not going to go away. The knowledge that we are producing, documenting, passing on to farmers, it will not go away. It will remain with the farmers and they can continue practicing. Number two, we are working with the Ministry of Agriculture. The extension mechanism for the Ministry of Agriculture will remain beyond the lifespan of the project. And number three, we are working with the private sector. And so the project is not there just to procure or purchase or just deliver specific inputs, but we are working with these farmers on the transfer of knowledge, documenting that knowledge so that even when the project has come to an end, the knowledge will be there. We have engaged a number of, for example, radio stations, community radio stations, programs that we have that are constantly running. They would run even beyond the lifespan of the project. And the most important thing is how these technologies, to what extent are they adapted to the needs of the farmers, is the most important critical factor to make them sustainable. Because if they are solving the challenges the farmers have, they would definitely be adopted by the farmers. So one of the key components under the project is adaptive research, making sure that the technology that we are promoting is within the social and economic context of the farmers. All those elements combined makes the activities that we are doing sustainable.
Great. This program is called Tea in European Union. We are on every Wednesdays and of course Fridays at 0730 on this very station. Indeed, right. It is Wednesday morning. It's Tea in European Union live on ZMBC Radio 2. And my guest for this particular edition is Mr. Mtendere Mphatso, who is Chief Technical Advisor under the Food and Agriculture Organization, working with the European Union closely on this particular project. Now, as we get to discuss this topic this particular morning, and this is to understand what SIFAZ does and how it works with the European Union. Let me draw your attention to what the main expected impact of the project is or will have on smallholder farmers.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think, as I was just mentioning to you earlier on, we have tailor-made these technologies that we are promoting to the farmers' conditions.
Yes.
Okay. We are looking at the critical challenges the farmers are facing and how within their socio-economic context can they practice these technologies. Within that, one of the key elements that maybe it's also critical to mention here, Zambia has got a couple of agroecologies. The northern province or the northern region versus the southern region, they have got a different environment or ecologies, so to speak. So they are tailor-made to address according to the environment which the farmers have. So when you talk of the expected impact, is that farmers will be able to produce more, have a more surplus that they can market, improve on their income, reduce the poverty levels amongst the smallholder farmers, while at the same time, as we started off on this program, our discussion is how improving the maintaining or sustaining the environment. So the impact of the project is that we anticipate that we will bring in the knowledge and the technical know-how for the farmers to be able to meet their objectives on food security, on income requirements, while improving and maintaining the environment in the long run.
Right. Let's, as we conclude, let's speak to issues to do with, mindset change.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot that, one would expect or require to have just that, mindset change so that the parties involved can grasp on whatever it is that, you are trying to impart into them as you run this particular project. So I wanted to find out how SIFAZ, a project is ensuring that all your communications, to the farmers are effective and will finally be, embraced by the farmers that you're dealing with.
Okay. I was just mentioning earlier, one of the ways that we are reaching out to farmers, first and foremost, is the use of the existing extension network that the Ministry of Agriculture and it has. And by the extension department, they have got different methodologies. We are working with the farmers on what we call lead to and follow a farmer model, which is a peer farmer-to-farmer interaction, experiential learning. Out there, we have established the technology demonstration fields where farmers come and learn, practice, see from their experiences, and draw from there how these technologies are working. That's one way of ensuring that farmers have understood how these technologies can work and improve under their conditions. Secondly, we have got a number of community radio programs in different local languages. For example, in Northern Province, we run on the Radio Mano, Liberty Radio, Luanse Radio, Radio Luswepo, with the local language that in those areas they can understand.
Yes.
We have these tailor-made design programs that are running. You can get also more information about these technologies from there. We do have a lot of material in terms of the print that we distribute around with the farmers. But the most important factor is the peer-to-peer and experiential learning amongst the farmers.
Great. Let me thank you so very much for getting to the studio and having tea with us as early as this on this Wednesday morning.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to next time.
Great. We've been speaking to Mr. Mtendere Mphatso, who is a Chief Technical Advisor under the Food and Agriculture Organization, but he is currently coordinating the Sustainable Intensification of Smallholder Farming Systems, SIFAZ project in Zambia. An agricultural economist by profession, and has held various positions under FAO, and the European Union is actually working closely with him on this particular project. Let's have tea again next week at the same time right here. It is tea, the European Union. Lovely good morning.